drawing out differences between their examples because I am interested in asking how our understanding of truth-telling in politics might shift if we took Cassandra, rather than Socrates, as our archetypical truth-teller. Invoked as a model for what we now call civil disobedience, Socrates appears as an exemplar of seeking absolute truth and justice over and above unjust, biased state and local laws and edicts. Through reference to his example, political theorists have been able to raise important questions about truth-tellers, philosophers, activists, experts, movement leaders, confronting an intransigent demos. That is, questions about why a people whose passions, or love of sophistry, or desire for wealth, makes them unable to recognize truth. Yet Socrates' example does not raise, or raises less obviously than Cassandra's, the question of how someone appears legible as a truth-teller in the first place. Put differently, Socrates' example tends to suggest that conflicts over truth in politics are due either to popular passions or ignorance of truth, rather than asking how various forms of power function to keep different kinds of individuals, women, people of color, queer, trans, and gender non-conforming people, outside the circle of the hearable. Hierarchies of citizenship, class, and gender set the boundaries of Socrates' political conflict about truth with his fellow Athenians. Figures like Cassandra were always already illegible, and their reality appears always already insignificant to their society. If Socrates' predicament helps to illuminate the predicament of Thoreau and Gandhi, Cassandra's predicament gestures toward a different set of experiences, of ordinary women who tell the truth about sexual assault and are not believed, of people of color who tell the truth about police violence, brutality, and killing and are not believed, of queer, trans, and gender non-conforming people who tell the truth about violence, bullying, and the social invisibility of wrongs done to them and are not believed, of those trying to tell the truth about wars, violence, and oppression and are not believed, and of others, excluded from the circle of the hearable, who are trying to create a meaningful place in the world by telling the truth about their exclusion from it. Cassandra's predicament is not the predicament of heroes and great men. Rather, her predicament helps attune us to the significance of experiences of women, trans people, queers, and people of color trying to tell the truth so that they might survive, demand a society in which their reality matters, and create the possibility of living differently. To be clear, Cassandra and contemporary marginalized individuals are not cast as suspect, unbelievable, and mad only because of their identity. Rather, they also tell truths that are unsettling to power and privilege. In different ways, they offer their societies what I call insurgent truth, a kind of truth that does not stabilize society by offering pre-political facts, but instead unsettles society by showing that the social ground is already rough, exclusive, and often lopsided. Cassandra told the Trojans that they would lose the war and be totally destroyed. Black Lives Matter activists tell Americans that their society is premised on white supremacy and the presumed worthlessness of black lives. Women in the Me Too movement tell their fellow citizens that their governments and workplaces are saturated and constituted by misogyny and sexual harassment. In other words, if Cassandra and contemporary marginalized truth-tellers are cast as suspect in part because of who they are also portrayed as unbelievable because of the truths they tell. This is no accident. The sustenance of political and social hierarchies in an ostensibly just society depends on portraying the marginalized as unreliable observers of their own marginalization, and portraying the oppressed as untrustworthy witnesses to their own oppression. If we focus our attention on the hierarchies of credibility and truth foregrounded by Cassandra's example, then the question with which I began, what does a truth-teller look like, no longer seems appropriate. This question suggests that social credibility is inextricably linked to a certain identity or self-presentation, whereas Cassandra's example suggests that social norms, institutions, violence, and ideology produce certain identities and comportments as more credible. If social credibility is a product of social and political organization, then it seems better to put the question this way. How does the institutional, legal, affective, and discursive staging of political scenes make some people look like truth-tellers and
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.